What's happening, YouTube, and welcome back to the Game Goblins. I have a Game Junkie over here. I've dragged his ass up. How's it going? Hello.
What's up? What's up, motherfuckers? Sorry.
And in the back, and you probably heard Zan. He's back. How's it going, man?
Oh. How's it going?
Not bad. So, beta impressions of the final beta weekend events. Well, how'd you get? Okay, Steve, you didn't play it, did you?
Yeah, I did. What the fuck were you?
You did? Okay, how much did you play?
I only played like a day and a half, but they were like the best day and a half I've had the whole beta weekend events, I think. Of all of them, plus closed beta tests. I had a fucking blast playing this last beta weekend event.
What all did you accomplish?
I didn't make the guild last time because I figured what the hell is the point, because honestly it's gonna get erased. I got a 3-day, head start access. I'll make it then. But I just wanted the entire guild who was playing, I wanted them to go out and just have fun, experience. They're all on each other's friends list anyway. They can group up, do whatever they want. And basically, with the new content, I mean, the Arenanet and Sylvari are amazing. I have a new appreciation for Sylvari. I wasn't ever going to make one. I hated the idea of them, but now I am definitely going to make one. I hang my head in shame for ever doubting them. And Arenanet Thieves are fucking awesome. I love it. And Fern Wolves are awesome. Those two areas, though, I think Zian actually can comment on this a little bit. Is like the areas for the Sylvari and Arenanet are a little complex. They're a lot more complex than the other three starting areas. So.
Yeah, I had the impression that the Asura, their renown events, their heart events, were a little bit more well made than the other races. I didn't get to play Sylvari, so I can't comment on that. But the Asura definitely had more interesting renowns in which you can actually get involved, and it doesn't feel like you're just going off doing something random. You're actually promoting the whole race,
Yeah. Well, it's like we did the fun house. Did you get to do the fun house at all?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't get to level that high.
Oh, that was fucking awesome. It's just a whole bundle of awesome.
So what did you get to do, Zane?
Well, my first day I played 10 hours of World v World. Kind of couldn't get off it, so. Then my second day I kind of just goofed around in PvE on the Sylvari. Which I did notice that heading into their city, it seemed like every level had its own design element, but the elevator that was there, they're supposed to take you down, kept glitching out on me, so I never actually went down and kept bringing me back to the same floor. I'd do the animation, and I'd be like, what the fuck, I'm on the same floor again. But yeah, beta screw-ups and such. But I really absolutely enjoyed the Arenanet area. I love that. It's I think that they put a lot more work into these two races than they did with the other three. That's just my personal opinion.
Definitely.
But yeah, I enjoyed my weekend very thoroughly.
Well, it's yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Of course they're going to put more work into it. I mean, the Arenanet are from Eye of the North, and they're just... People love them. They've got to have a lot of work with Radisum and everything, but the Sylvari are the brand new one. They had creative freedom, basically, to do what they wanted to, because if you ever played GuildWars2, the pale tree is there, but it's still a sprout. It's just little tiny. I did a video about it and I showed it, but it's just they had creative freedom when it came to them, whereas the other ones, they had to rework things that already pre-existed, which I think kind of held them back a little bit, although Divinity's Reach is gigantic and amazing. And the fields outside of it are awesome. But Ascalon seems kind of barren. It's supposed to be barren, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it's proper for what actually occurred. At least I think. But
Well, it was barren to begin with after the searing, and the faux fire was just another sandstorm on top of that, in the manner of speaking. But
yeah.
So I have to say though that Radasum has to be the most visually impressive thing I've seen in the game thus far.
And the most confusing.
There is so much. Yeah, it's confusing as hell. Like I would walk into like one of the central areas, and I would fall because of the glass stairs at an angle. So I would fall like three levels, and I'd be really close to death, and I'd just find myself at like the bottom of the city.
Only 3? You weren't trying hard enough, dude. I fell like 6 or some shit. I fell right off the side, and I went down all the way. There was like no floor where I went. It's just like, boom, you're dead instantly, and I couldn't even see my body. I was like, where did I go?
Holy shit. Yeah, it's pretty great. What do you guys think of the Grove, actually, speaking of capital cities?
The Grove, I thought, was very complicated to navigate. It's got so many different different paths that you can take all over the place. It's a really complicated city. Personally, I think it's a little underscaled from the other 3 cities. Like, your Human, Norn, and Char seem like to have... Char's not so much. I say Char's probably with the maybe Solari and Azuran. But I think the Human and the Norn had really huge city areas, whereas the other races had a little smaller area. They're still big, I'm just saying they just seemed a little smaller in scale to the other 2.
Well, I can't comment on fucking the Grove because, honestly, I was too stupid to turn around. It was like, I was at work that night, and he's like, yeah. I was like, did you see the Grove? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, wow, I couldn't find it. He's like, all you had to do is turn around when you started off. I just, like, started off and ran forward. I didn't even bother to turn around, so I didn't even get to see the Grove, but I saw Radasum. Radasum is actually quite large. It's just compact. It's, like, up and down. It's actually, if you spread it out flat, it would be probably about the size of Divinity's Reach, I'd say. Because it's just multi-tiered, just complex. I couldn't find jack shit in Radasum. I was looking for crafting stuff. I was looking for everything. And I was like, where is all this crap? Because, I don't know. I wasn't using the floor maps either. I was just, perusing. Of course, it didn't really matter anyway. It's not going to matter until everything starts saving when launch happens. But, I don't know. I was just getting a general outlay of everything and seeing where everything was going. So... But I was happy with it. I was happy with Radasum because I remember spending tons of time in Radasum in Guild Wars 1. And I always wondered what it would look like if they, brought it up.
Yeah.
And now I know.
Radasum in Guild Wars 1 was just like an open plane with a couple floating mechanical shit.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it.
It was like, because it was
and they had
buried.
like a polymorph guy.
Because it was buried. It was basically just the tops of everything you see. They were still kind of partially underground at that point. And now everybody's up. I mean, did you get to see the labs that were... I think we did.
Yeah.
We were wandering around goofing off. We went to like a broken down reactor and shit. We were having a good time with that, although we were horribly underleveled. And we were running around and we saw these like arrows pointing up in the sky. And like from playing Guild Wars 1, I knew that they were stairs, but we didn't know how to like navigate them. And then I looked up and there was just like labs up in the sky on huge floating rocks. I'm like, oh shit. And just wondering how interactive all of the skybound laboratories and stuff are. There's going to be a lot of cool things around the Arenanet area, I think. It's going to be one of the most probably interactive areas that you're going to find. At least
definitely. I mean, like, just at like the level 12 story bit, you get to Inyr's personal story, which the Sora has one of the best personal stories in my opinion, not counting Sylvari, because you get your iconic interacts with you more. Felicia Day has some of the best lines of the Iconics by far. She's just such an interactive character. I love it. And in your level 12 storyline, I think it's level 12, you get to take control of a golem and do golem fights. And it's one of the funnest things I've done so far. Now, speaking of that, if you look at the Radasum map, you can see that there's a Polymorph arena.
Mm-hmm.
So Polymorph's in the game, which is awesome because Polymorph is a great mini game in Guild Wars 1.
I absolutely love it.
It's very strategic. So.
You don't even have any idea how long I spent on Guild Wars 1 obtaining every Polymorph piece. That was like my passion and my goal. And when I did it, I was like, okay, now what do I do? Because I was just running dungeons over and over and over and over again, trying to get the Polymorph pieces and shit. It took forever, but I can't wait. Yeah, Polymach and Guild Wars 2 is going to be amazing, I think. I think a lot of people, of course, like, I played older games, like Final Fantasy 11 that had Tetramaster and stuff like that, and, like, those mini-games, those side games that really don't affect the main game that much are actually sometimes more fun than things that you're doing in the real world. And I think that you're going to see a lot of people gathering around the Polymach area and just battling it out. I think it's going to be an interesting side note. Probably draw a lot of people near the Radisson borders, so it'll be good.
Definitely.
What do you guys think?
Now,
hold on. I gotta ask this before I forget, because I'm old and my brain kind of skips things and I'll forget. But in your honest opinion, we all know that, like, the docks of Lion's Arch are going to be the central hub for everybody. But what do you think the main starting city, which starting city do you think is honestly going to be the most populated? Not just by the primary races, but where do you think most people are going to hang out most of the time?
I'd have to say Radisson so far, you know? I mean, Lion's Arch is amazing. I finally got, in this beta weekend, I finally got to, like, do a complete run-through of it. And just, like, discover everything, look at all the vistas and all that. It's great, but I think there's more to Radisson that people would find interesting. Yeah. Unless there's, like, these really hardcore role players who are like, oh, down with the Asura and all that, which there probably aren't as many of nowadays. Yeah, I think Radisson. There's just so much to do there, and so much cool things to look at. And I just think it would be a great place for everybody to go to.
Well, I'd have to say that I think it's going to be more scaled out than. I don't really think that any one of them is going to get any more attention than the other because of the little mini games that are in the cities. You can only get certain ones in certain cities, and who knows who wants to do what. So
yeah,
until everyone knows what they're going to do, but I would assume that you're going to see a lot. It's really hard to say. I really think because of the mini games that it's going to scale out between all the cities and stuff, and people are going to go back and forth in between them because there's really no, like, because you always get leveled down, so
yeah,
there's no point in not going back to the cities.
Yeah. Well, it's like some of the mini games are actually shared too, but they're different. Like there's a barroom brawl in Black Citadel, and there's also in the Moot in fucking in the Norn in Holbrook. Yeah, I did both, and they're both, you know, they're not completely different, but they're more different than they're not the exact same thing, which is nice. But I think that if with Polymach and the Golem battles, which will obviously there'll be a Golem arena, which I didn't really investigate far enough to actually get to level 12 and do any of the story arc. I didn't want to ruin it for myself because Assurin is going to be one of my main characters, but I don't know. I was like, out of every city that I've been to, I think that Radisson is obviously the hardest one to navigate, in my opinion. For me, anyway, because I'm not good with, like, tiny little details and remembering where certain things are. But I think that the easiest one that I've had to navigate is actually the Norn. It's just so widespread. It's not compact. Like, Divinity's Reach is really tightly sealed. There's lots of buildings and, like, little alleyways and everything. And, you know, with the Norn, it's just giant lodges. And the NPCs basically are just out and about in the field. And it's really easy to find wherever you want. So I think, for me personally, it's like with crafting and everything, I'll probably do most of my crafting in Holbrook, no matter what character I'm on. But I'll go to, like, Radisson to actually have, like, fun with, like, Polymach and stuff like that. I don't think, honestly, I'm going to hang around Divinity's Reach that much. I don't know. Depends on what they do with the carnival and everything, but I still haven't seen the Grove, so I don't know.
Now, speaking of mini games, the first, like, full-fledged mini game came out this beta weekend, the Keg Brawl, or Keg Toss, whatever it was called, in Holbrook. Did you guys get to try that one out?
No, didn't even go near Holbrook.
Well, I got to play a few hours of it, and it was pretty intense, man. It takes some skill, because it's basically. I started off. It was just 2 people on my team. It was me and some other guy, and there were 2 people on that team. I was in an overflow server at the time, which was funny because I was on a European server to begin with, and the goal of it is you start with 1 keg in the center, and you have to race to get it and bring it back to your side of the field. It's basically like lacrosse, but with giant kegs of ale. And you have a certain number of abilities. You have 2 like punches. One kind of like knocks them down. The other punches the barrel out of their hands. Then you have like a charge, which will kick them and knock them down, but it won't take the ale out. Then you have like a dodge roll, and I don't think there's a 5th move.
You know what that sounds like?
And you have
Seriously, do you know what that sounds like? It sounds like they incorporated
what?
elements of who's that guy that's in Eye of the North? I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was relevant of Leroy Jenkins from World of Warcraft. Remember that?
Kilroy Stoneskin.
Kilroy Stoneskin. Remember when you had to go through the dungeon with him?
Yeah.
That,
Okay.
That kind of sounds like it
incorporates
elements from that a little bit.
Probably inspired by that. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, and obviously, since the keg of ale is a bundle, you get a whole new set of abilities with it. You can like spill ale, and it creates like a slippery surface on top of the ice. And I think you can like smash people over the head with it too. It's pretty great. It's really hard to get that ale because it slows you down by like 50% when you're holding it. So you have to be really crafty using your dodge rolls and all that. And I got my ass whooped every single time. My team just sucked, even when we had like 5 people on with us. It's intense. Like the more people you have on there, the worse it gets because more kegs of ale start dropping on the field. And you can have like 3 at a time, and there's just people going everywhere.
Yeah,
it was pretty great.
Well, it's we saw some hectic shit too. It's like we were screwing around with our assurance, and I'd done it before, but there's this part where the Wind Riders come out, and you gotta defend against Wind Riders. I think at one point Xena was like, is this supposed to be this hard? Because there were so many people there, and there were so many Wind Riders that were around. It was just getting to be impossible. It's like, but it was fun. I mean, I had the most fun probably around, Radisum area. I don't know, the one thing I was kind of let down by, which I'm sure I just didn't understand exactly how every element was working and things like that, but was the golem chest. You were helping somebody on one of those heart quests, and basically you got a 3x3 grid, and you had 2 golems, and you had to beat the other opponent. And
oh yeah, I
don't know. It's just I was just doing it to get the heart filled. I really wasn't paying attention to what was going on. It was kind of easy, but I didn't get to play against anybody else. I think you could do 2 players on it, but I don't know. It just seemed like everything was more interactive in these other 2 areas than it was in the primary 3 that everybody's gotten to play.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
I think they need to amp up the other 3 a little bit. They need to give some more. Give some love. You know?
I started seeing something like that done when, what was it, the second beta weekend after the first one had passed, because people were saying it was kind of dynamic events weren't really feeling dynamic. So I saw them like put in a couple additions to the dynamic events on the second beta weekend, so they probably had that in mind. I didn't play any of those areas this time, maybe to see if it's changed up a little bit. But the first time that I was around, like in the second beta weekend, I saw quite a bit of new things. So, but yeah, I still feel like the Assurance have way more. They've had more time out of the public eye to do these kind of things with this race too. So,
yeah. Well, they did have them active in one of the conventions, but weren't they? I think they started Assurance mid-level, didn't they? If I remember right.
It was like level 30 stuff, yeah.
So nobody really got to see the starting areas, and I think, yeah, they've had ample time to. Of course, with the Assurance, they wanted to basically beef them up and make them more prominent in Guild Wars 2, because in Guild Wars 1, it was like they were just there. You know, it wasn't
yeah.
They were established, but at the same time, it was like, well, their area was cool. It was fun to be around, but more or less it was just something you did, something you went to. You didn't feel like you belonged there, kind of. And now,
yeah, the only real because in Guild Wars 1 they were just so disconnected from the rest of the world, all of Tyria. The only real prominent thing that's kind of stood out for me in the original game was the fact that you went back and found another Bloodstone in the Asura areas.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. You kind of developed that a little bit, but other than that, yeah, they were just kind of there.
Mm. I like them now, though. It's like,
yeah.
Ever since they announced the races and everything, I knew I was going to have an Assuran, but I didn't think it was going to be that involved. I don't know why I didn't think that. I was just like, you know, it's probably in my Guild Wars 1 days. I'm like, yeah, they'll be there, and, you know, you'll just make it. Of course, I'm coming off of how many MMOs? I can't even count the number I've played, and it's just like, usually when you get something, let's use a horrible reference. Let's use World of Warcraft, because we all know I like to beat up on World of Warcraft for absolutely no reason other than I hate Blizzard. But, it's just like, you can make an orc in World of Warcraft, and you can make a troll, you know, and orcs have a sort of established city. You can say, oh yeah, you know, it's, that's the orc capital and everything, but it's just like a mud hole, basically, or it always used to be. I heard they changed it in Cataclysm, but I didn't really pay attention to it. I didn't play. And but the trolls always started down by, you know, the ocean, and they were just like in little huts and everything. They didn't have an established city. It was like they shared the orc city. And it's like you could make anything Horde or Alliance, and basically, you know, it didn't matter where you started. Everything was basically just laid out the same, and you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate from World of Warcraft people. They're going to be like, oh, you're fucking stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. But I played World of Warcraft for like 5 years, so I do know what I'm talking about. It's just like, I don't know. You didn't stay in your starting city that long. People just clustered around them. And your overall goal was basically just to go, like, Dalaran or, you know, somewhere else, Shareth. It didn't matter where it was, but you didn't stick around your main starting city that long. And it was like, they were just there. I think the one I spent most time in was Thunder Bluff. Just because it was the most interesting to me of the Horde cities. It was like Thunder Bluff, and of course, you know, I can't remember what it's called right now, but the place where the undead started.
Lordaeron?
Huh?
Lordaeron.
Well, yeah. But, it's like that and Thunder Bluff were probably the most established and interesting of the cities, I think, on the Horde side. But, you know, that's just me and my personal opinion. You don't have to hate on me just because, you know, I say, oh, I don't like Blizzard and everything. You know, it's of all the games I've ever played, even like Fallen Earth. Yeah, last night I was playing Fallen Earth again for a little while, and it's like, as different factions, you start off in different places, but all those places are basically the same. You know, it's just like, I don't know. I think probably since like EQ, I haven't seen just starting areas that were distinct and special where you wanted to represent them, or I wouldn't say represent, because Final Fantasy XI was hardcore on representation. It didn't matter what. Of course, that was a good system, though. I mean, Xeon played that with me. I don't know if you ever played it, Ryo. I don't think you have, but no. It was like you had 3 starting cities, and basically every week it was tallied up on how many areas each city owned, and then you would come out 1, 2, or 3, and you got special benefits for being like #1 contender. And it was always a huge war, and that was a good system because it incorporated unity among, you know, starting races and cities. And that was good. And I think Guild Wars 2 has taken that in the direction that they did, which honestly is going to benefit the game 100 times more than if it was just like, oh, you know, there's Divinity's Reach, we're going to fuck around here for a while, and then, yeah, we'll go find something else to do. You know?
Yeah. Another MMO that's kind of doing something very unique in that aspect, Terra, I believe, is doing that. I think it's Terra, right? Where players can be voted for to like rule certain areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ever since I heard about that mechanic, I was wondering like how that if Arenanet adopted something like that, how would that work? Like, I can see where if you like creating it so that like if humans, like say just for an example, I don't know how the other races would do this, but like if humans had that kind of system, in addition to like well they already have like guilds taking over keeps and all that, but if they had it for the PvP, humans would be like, if you were a noble, you can have votings for like the ministry or something. If you were a commoner, you can have like votings for control of marketplaces or something. And then if you're a street rat, like control of gangs and all that.
Yeah.
Which I always dreamed would be a great mechanic for that. But
it would. I mean, there are other games that have done.
But what would be its function? What would be the function of doing that, though? I don't that's like one thing. It's like to control something, but
the same reason Terra would do it, for mostly bragging rights.
I don't know. It's like a lot of people. Well, not a lot of people. A couple of people.
It's just a gimmick feature.
Yeah, a couple people have asked me, is like, what do you think of games like Secret World and Terra? And honestly, I don't hate any game. Honestly, it's like I even could say about World of Warcraft. It has its ups and it has its downs. I think it used to be better back in vanilla. It used to be better back before, Lich King came out and they dumbed down everything. And I think that they cater too much to the newer players, and the hardcore players get shot out in the dirt because, the newer players are like, well, we aren't going to play if this isn't, playable. And they're like, okay, we'll lower this down. But I don't hate World of Warcraft for that. I hate World of Warcraft because of Blizzard. Absolutely 100%. It's like I've never played an MMO that I absolutely hate. And look at it and be like, this game completely blows. This doesn't deserve to be an MMO. I mean, I haven't played them all, but, the ones I have played, and I've played some pretty crappy ones. I mean, I don't know. Either like Age of Conan does kind of like that territorial thing. But you can build, keeps and stuff yourself in the open world, and the whole world is PvP, so... And it can actually get pretty frustrating and disheartening. People have actually quit over it, but... there are ups and... There are benefits and negatives to if Arenanet would do something like that with the commoners and the royalty and everything like that. But I think they would have to incorporate it into a system that would make sense and would benefit, because if it didn't benefit anybody, if it was just for like bragging rights, you'd see it die off pretty quick. Nobody would really care about it, it'd be like, it'd be one guy winning it all the time because he puts all his time and effort into it, and he's really not doing anything else. He's not helping anybody, not doing anything like that. And I don't know, I think you would have to have like a competition aspect to it where you would benefit greatly if you were the one.
Well, they do have some sort of like system, like it's the home instance basically. We don't know how that's going to play out exactly. They say the home instance is going to change, so
it does change.
You do have some sort of control in that area. So, well, I know. I'm just saying you have some control in that area, as in like you would in Terra. It's just not everybody else is getting to see your interaction unless you invite them in to see your interactions.
Right.
So it's more personalized.
Which is a la like any game with housing systems. Is like Final Fantasy 11. Nobody could see your house unless you invited them into your house. But I think the thing that they did that was really, really cool with it, and I'm sure other games have done it. I think I've heard of a couple that have actually done it. But how they have your story arc will actually go into your home instance. It's not just like a static thing where it's there and you just collect NPCs and things and they just go and live there in peace and harmony and everything is kosher. You have elements, bad elements that go into your home instances. I think the one example is like Divinity's Reach, when you have to go in there and flush out a gang that's basically in your little tavern or whatever it is. I don't remember. It was a while ago I did it, but it
Well, that all depends on which rank of society you choose. Like, if you're noble, you go to a party and you'll get attacked and one of your friends is kidnapped. If you're a commoner, your friend's bar will get attacked, and if you're a street rat, your friend will get mixed up in like this whole gang business that's actually planning all of this.
Yeah.
And then you have to go save him.
Yeah, but the cool thing is it takes place in your home instance. That's the point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's just out there somewhere and it doesn't reflect anything on you personally. You know, it's nice to have
And
a player character that's basically, you know, not always safe. You always have you kind of feel certain regards that you're never 100% safe in this game. It's like, you know, you have bad elements that want you out of the picture. Of course, that's any MMO, but to personally attack, you know, your personal residence, that's kind of, I don't know, maybe because I'm old, I get it as like, I don't want people coming in my house with fucking guns drawn and shit, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I want that in my game too.
Yeah, this probably only applies to Divinity's Reach so far, because during the personal story, when you're in your home instance, you go inside buildings a lot. Like, there's a lot of fighting, like, inside buildings. You have to go in alleyways and all that. And a lot of people have been saying that it's way too crowded, that you can have, like, 20 people in a single room. But if you can handle it correctly and you move people between floors and all that, like, inside combat can actually be really freaking fun.
Yeah.
You have to, like, really pay attention to a lot of different things, so it's great.
Yeah, it's simplistic after you bottleneck them in the staircase.
Oh, Mr. X has all the answers.
Hopefully you have some PoE with it.
Bottleneck those motherfuckers. They can't do jack shit.
The frustrating thing is, though, that most of the enemies in your Divinity's Reach story, they're like engineers or thieves, and they always use guns, which is really fucking annoying. Because they'll just be like on over a corner on the top of a staircase, and they'll be shooting through walls, and you can't get to them.
What do you want them to use? Sticks?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Throw a stick at you.
Poked.
I'll poke your eye out. Don't mess with me, man. I got rocks too. I'll start throwing.
Alright, so in terms of professions, Eric, you had some problems with the warrior. Do you think they've improved it at all?
I haven't had a chance to play the warrior since the first beta weekend, I think. Or was it the second? I can't remember. But I think it was the first one. It was pretty much the same generalization where it's like melee versus ranged. Range seems like it has an advantage that you really can't overcome as a melee character, but I don't know if they've improved that or not. I've been playing pretty much ranged characters the entire time since then.
Except for Thief.
So
well, dual pistol.
The thief is kind of ranged because they have the dual wield pistols, and every class really does have its own like range mechanic. As long as you played a warrior with a gun, like for your range combat, it was really good because you had enough damage to put something down, and you didn't have to get in to its face. But once you had like something getting in its face, warrior could go down. I think their defensive abilities need to be bumped up a bit. If it's just, it seems like they can't take a hit. They take a hit like they're a thief. So the thief's putting out more damage. It's kind of weird.
It could be all in like utility skills, though. I mean, definitely they'd have to pump up defensive and toughness and all that early on. But I think once you get like the signets and all that, they give you protection, regeneration. It'll even out pretty nicely.
The Guardian, man, the Guardian is so hard to kill. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
like
holy
the
shit,
Guardian
man.
is. It's like I played Guardian in PvP, the 5v5 there, and seriously, you can run into a pack of 4 enemies and like knock some people around and get out before they kill you. Like Guardian is like, they have so much defensive capabilities. It's kind of hard.
No.
They don't. I don't know. They do quite a bit of damage when you have the great sword equipped, in my opinion.
Well, it's just like
well, if you're playing
when we were in the reactor.
If you're playing a Guardian with, go ahead.
When we were in the reactor, we were 2 thieves, and we triggered a we triggered a skill point, which locked down 3 fire elementals. People watching this probably know exactly what I'm talking about. We went down like bitches. I mean, we weren't horribly under-leveled to them at that point. We were, like 1 or 2 or 3 levels under them, I think. But then there was this Guardian who was under-leveled of them, came in and just was owning up the area by himself. I mean, it was just like, he wasn't even worried about it. He was just boom, boom, boom. Things that were taking us, I don't know, a combined effort maybe of a minute to a minute and a half to take down. He was taking down, packs of 3 in a matter of like 5 seconds. So I think that, you know, when they originally wanted the Guardian, they wanted him to be like a support character, and they said, I think they specifically said that Guardians aren't meant to be forceful attackers, they're meant to be supporting characters, and, you know, that's why they get all the buffs and everything like that. But it seems that Guardians found a way around it, and they're just like forceful attackers with all of the support abilities for personal self. So I don't know. I think you're going to see tons of Guardians, personally. I think that's going to be the most favorite class, just because, you know...
Until they get nerfed to all hell.
Yeah, there's going to be nerfs on them. There has to be nerfs on them. It's just ridiculous.
It's one of their best abilities that they get that you don't have to activate at all is that Aegis shield. It blocks every few seconds. You get a block off, so it like automatically blocks any attack, and that thing is amazing when you're going after somebody. It's just like it resets, and then you have an automatic block that'll block damage. So it's cutting your damage in half, technically, from just that alone.
And then just activating it, you can give that block to the people around you, right?
Huh? Well, if you activate it, then you instantly have that block pop up when you need it. But if you don't activate it, it's like on a timer. It scales, basically. It's like it goes about, I don't know how many seconds it is, and then it resets, and then it blocks again. So,
right.
But it's a really good ability, and it doesn't even have to be activated, so...
Wow, I want that. But I refuse to play a Guardian. Put it on my Warrior.
But it's a more simplistic class. Even like it'll be a lot easier to play for people that don't have the skill or want to play, or want more casual gamers who don't want to really have the more difficult time. I mean, a Warrior can probably survive just as long. It's just you have to be a really, really good player to do it. You know what I mean?
I don't have, like, with Warrior, I don't have survivability issues with sword and board. I honestly don't. With shield bash and stuff like that, I can work around things. But at the same time, it's like Warrior is supposed to be the easiest to play profession. They said that at start. It was supposed to be an easy pick up and play profession, and Guardian was supposed to be one of the more advanced things. That's why it was released, what was it, 4th or 5th? They said as they progressed, the professions would actually get harder to understand and to navigate. But it doesn't seem like that's really how it's working out. It's like Warrior is more tricky because it's not as survivable if you don't know what you're doing. Whereas Guardian, you can just pick it up and say, okay, well, I'll learn a couple, you know. Well, I got Aegis, so that's good. And I'll equip a greatsword and have a sweeping arc and stuff like that. And I'll just mow through shit, you know?
And Warriors also have oh man, my brain just lost. Gone. Yeah, but Warriors, they have I don't know, I'm lost here. You guys can go. I just lost.
Don't forget how to breathe.
I played a lot of Mesmer in PvP, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. I think it's really the only viable class that can work around the Guardian's defenses right now. Because just like, you know, pop an elite, turn him into a MOA, and then cast like 3 illusions and mind rack them. Simple, 3 shots.
Okay, I remember now. Yeah, but Warriors have so many different types of weapons. I think the difficulty comes from basically knowing what set to use at what time, or what you're using it for. Like when you get as a full, here's my issue with Warrior. When you're trying to do full damage, your survivability, like especially if you go into like the dungeons, right, and you're taking on like the explorable modes, then you have an issue where it's like, if I want to do damage, like real significant damage, and I have to get up on this boss, but this boss just bitch slaps you because you don't have any defense capabilities because you want to do damage, and it's kind of limiting you to specific roles, which Arenanet stated that they don't want roles in this game. I mean, that's where I'm having an issue with Warrior a little bit. It's just I don't know if it's most melee classes in general that's an issue. Like I'm sure that your Thief is going to have just as many problems getting up in there.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Shadow Step is nice.
Well, it's nice, and you have like a shadow step, like when you have the sword, basically, you can whip around, and it evades attacks while you have your dodge too. So there's a lot of dodging capabilities for that class. Still, like they get hit, they go down pretty quick. Yeah. It's like what I've noticed though is that the range classes really have a lot of advantage when it comes to stuff like that. They can stay out of range as long. It's pretty much like I say, every class pretty much has like a range capability now, I think, don't they?
Yeah.
Every class has range now, so it's like you can't really...
What you're trying to say, though, is like every class...
Some range are more effective than others, so you really don't have a level playing.
Some are built for range, while others just have range. Like a warrior has range, but it's more or less just to pull things to them. It's not necessarily direct damage. Whereas...
Yeah, that gun is pretty direct damage.
Yeah, it's direct damage, but that's like your main, utility when it comes to long range. Whereas like rangers have multiple avenues to do that each, end in different results, and they're all very powerful. Thieves with like dual pistols, which you used, I didn't use. I refused to use it. I like black powder, but engineers, mesmers. They're all very direct damage. I mean, it's very noticeable. It's like having 4 ranged abilities that do just as much damage as a warrior's rifle, but being able to use any one of them for different results for nasty after effects.
Yeah, well, engineers' dual pistol skills are much more support oriented than anything. I mean, he gets most of his damage off of rifle.
Yeah.
Plus turrets. And I completely forgot. I got a dentist appointment to go to, so let's try and wrap this up. Did you guys do the final beta weekend events?
No, that doesn't work.
The Hunger Royale.
Didn't even see it.
No, sadly, I have to work at that time.
It was pretty great. It was basically the Hunger Games. Actually reminded me more of DayZ than anything. You ran around, you were an assassin, you had a rifle, you had limited ammunition and food. Your health was constantly draining. You had to just go kill the guys. It was pretty great. It got tense when there were only like 5 people left. I died pretty early on.
Oh, you know what I realized?
Huh?
Do you honestly know what I realized? I was kind of scared it wasn't going to happen, but there's going to be fucking Halloween and Christmas events this year. Holy shit. I can't wait to see that shit.
Yeah?
I really want to see that shit. I want to see Mad King Thorn in GuildWars2.
That's going to be pretty great.
Hell yeah, it is. I'm reverbing.
Alright. So, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before I have to get out of here?
What you gotta go to the dentist for?
Clean my teeth.
Clean your teeth. You only have a toothbrush?
Some of us care about our dental hygiene, Mrs. Steve.
Oh. Who? I got time to go to the dentist. Fuck the dentist. They just want to charge you money. I don't like people that charge me money.
Yeah. I could remember when you needed to go to the dentist and you're complaining about it for almost a year before you went. Like, oh, I'm having like what was it again that you had an abscess in his tooth, and he's like, oh, he'd have to call some night because his whole face was swole. Because he probably should have went to see a dentist.
Yeah. I'm stubborn. What do you want? I was busy playing the games. I ain't got time to go to the dentist. Speaking of that, you get.
Well, all right, guys. I gotta get going now. So, thank you for coming along. Thank you for waking up. Yeah, that was a great thing.
We actually were up before you did.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Good.
What's your dentist's name before you go?
I have no idea.
You have no idea who your dentist is. That's not safe.
I don't pay attention to that shit.
Is it a guy or a girl?
Guy.
All right. Give your guy dentist
Grillock,
a great big kiss, and tell him that we all love him, and to treat you gentle. And if he's going to stick a thumb up your ass, to at least buy you dinner first. No, that's a proctologist. Never mind. All right.
All right. I'll see you guys later.